Hey, my legion, how y'all going? How y'all doing today? Probably gonna be a long video, so I got pop with me to drink. I wanna. I did a little bit, a couple days back. Well, over the weekend, I saw two movies. Right, I saw that I reviewed. Aside from the ones I saw with John, I Spell on Your Grave, Deja Vu, and also the documentary called "Growing Up with I Spell on Your Grave." I was actually more curious to do the documentary than the other one. But I figured if I watched the documentary first, it might have spoilers for I Spell on Your Grave, Deja Vu. I didn't know. So I decided to watch that one first, do a review of it, and I said that I want to save my private history with the movie I Spell on Your Grave on this video, along with discuss the documentary and review it, and then also rank the entire film series from worst to best. So I figured this is going to be a long video, so get pop ready. That's good. Diet Pepsi, 10 out of 10. Right there. Well, anyways, as far as I Spill on Your Grave is concerned, I never saw any advertisements for it back in 1980 when it got real popular, but I first found out about it I got home from school, and this is a big link to movie reviews too, and Siskel and Ebert. I got home, I don't know if it was teacher and service day, it was like 2:30. Fifth grade, was, I think, 2:30 on PBS. I turned on TV. I went to people, because we only had like antenna TV. We didn't have cable or anything like that. So it was just three major ones, Canadian TV and PBS. So I checked, or some other odd ones you might get off the antenna. And I checked PBS, and there was a show called Sneak Previews. I never heard of it before. It was Siskel and Ebert. I never heard of them before either. First time finding out about it. And there was an infamous special about women in danger, about what would later become slasher movies. But there was not a title for them. But they just said these thrillers. They call them thrillers, showing women in danger, and they hated them. And they said the most disgusting one was I Spill on Your Grave, the most apprehensive one. And, they said they liked Halloween, but they didn't like the other ones. And then Roger Ebert went on saying that was the worst movie ever made. And Gene Siskel did too. I Spell on Your Grave, worst movie ever made. So, that's when I first heard about the movie. And I heard about Siskel and Ebert, Sneak Preview. Then I found later that Sneak Preview used to be on. It was a great Sunday morning for TV on PBS. It was Sneak Previews at 10:30. Then Ernie Kovacs at 11 o'clock, which was on for an hour. Then 12 o'clock matinee at DeBeach, which was like an hour and a half or 2 hour show, like showing like what they have at the regular theater back in the day. Like newsreel footage, cliffhangers, cartoon, and then a movie. I mean, that might have been a 2 hour thing, I think. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but it was a lot of fun. And it was like that for a few years. And that was pretty much it about I Spell on Your Grave. So I knew about the movie. I heard about it. And then in school, the kids would say, "Did you see this one movie?" And they always talk about the bathtub scene where the girl would cut off the guy's wiener. Oh, and then, I mean, when I found out about Siskel, I started watching Sneak Previews on a regular basis. I became a big fan of theirs, even though they hated horror films. They used to do Dogs of the Week. And usually would have like a horror slash, I mean, not all the time, but they have Kung Fu Moon and everything like that. That's how I found out about a lot of these movies, through Siskel and Ebert. Now, I did see ads for movies that they had on there, like Boogeyman, Don't Answer the Phone, Prom Night, which I hated Prom Night. I mean, but they mostly hated slasher films. I mean, they loved Halloween, the first one. I agree with them on two of them. I hated Prom Night, which I thought was boring as hell, and He Knows You're Alone was boring as hell. And I was always a fan of them. Then I didn't know way later on, that they were kind of like jerks. I mean, at the time, protesting movies and stuff, they were protesting Paramount for showing Friday the 13th, which is actually really tame. And then they had Gene Siskel published Betsy Palmer's address because she was in the movie, and saying to give her a tough time, which is bullshit. And then through the documentary, I found when I Spell on Your Grave was playing in Cleveland. I mean, not Cleveland, Chicago. That's where they're from. They would protest the theaters, saying not to go to see this movie. So I only played in Chicago for like a week, but then went on to do really well throughout the country. Well, anyways, I never saw any ads about the movie. Right? So that was pretty much it for I Spell on Your Grave. Then home video came along, and eventually we got a VCR. And that's when the kids were saying, hey, do you see this movie, I Spell on Your Grave? About the wiener being cut off and stuff like that. And I finally rented it. Now, my mother was against me watching horror films and all this other stuff. But I mean, my dad was too. But the thing was, they didn't know what most of them were. They were clueless. So I mean, aside from the main ones, I rented some stuff they didn't know. They probably killed me if I spent it. But it's I saw the movie. I liked it, but Siskel and Ebert said like it was complete brutality to this woman, and that's all it was, brutality toward this woman. I watched the movie. She got revenge on those guys. Like 40 minutes into the movie, she started getting revenge on those guys. Now, the stuff that happened to her was very brutal, and, I mean, you know, it's true. I mean, it's a controversial movie. You know, it's pretty brutal stuff. But she got revenge on all those guys. Like, they lied. Like, they over-exaggerated these movies. They talk about Friday the 13th, like, these teenagers just go on this movie and then just get hacked to pieces. They get stabbed, like, once. Or killed one. And a lot of times, they don't show it. Just like, I remember watching The Hitcher, right? And they're talking about that girl. Because my dad wanted to see the movie, Rutger Hauer, you know. There was a scene where a girl was between two semis, right? And then they said they showed her being pulled apart. Whenever that happened, they faded to black. They did not show it. And I looked at my dad. They lied. They didn't show nothing. And my dad was just shaking his head. You know, I mean, they exaggerated about a lot of these movies about the violence towards them. Well, like I said, I rented I Spell on Your Grave, and that was pretty much it. You know, I saw the movie. And I remember in the 90s, at the one video store, local video store they had back when I used to have them, the family video store, and there was a priest that used to protest that place because they had pornos. They sold pornos in there. In a book. You had to look. You had to ask to see it. It wasn't like right out in the open. And they said it shouldn't be family home video or whatever if it's they had pornos there. And that place was still in business for like 2000, 2001, 2002. There was something I saw on the side called Don't Mess With My Sister. He did. I never bothered to rent it. And then I remember I saw like the Sweet Revenge 2-pack. Not the wrapper. But I mean, it was like a DVD of remastered I Spell on Your Grave, plus Don't Mess With My Sister for like, I think I paid like $8.99 or something like that. I did get that. So I finally saw I saw I Spell on Your Grave with my dad. And I saw Don't Mess With My Sister, which wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't like it was advertised. Dad said, this isn't the movie you think it is. And it wasn't. But it was different. And then that was pretty much it. Trying to think. And then I remember when they were saying it's the worst movie ever made, Siskel and Ebert, Gene Siskel actually changed his mind a few times. He actually said, well, I Spell on Your Grave, and then he switched to Silent Night, Deadly Night, then he switched to Face of the Death. I remember they were on Oprah Winfrey, and they showed a clip during the documentary, because I remember this thing, and he said, like, one guy said, what's the worst movie you thought you ever saw? And then Roger said, when someone asks me that, I usually use my stock answer, say I Spell on Your Grave. Well, anyways, they really, that was brought curiosity about people, and that helped promote the movie. So they created their own monster by that. They couldn't have said nothing, but, you know, they had, like, you can have, like, scathing reviews and stuff like that, but when you do go protest, something like that, kind of being a jerk. You know, anyways, you know, I still enjoy the show. Let me move that off the Stop button. Well, anyways, that was pretty much it when I got the Sweet Revenge 2-pack thing. Then in 2010, I believe it was, we used to go to, I don't do it anymore, I got streaming services, but I mean, it goes and saying you used to rent videos and stuff like that, rent DVDs, then buy DVDs at like Walmart, right? 2010, I believe, rolled around, and all of a sudden, I see a remake of I Spit on Your Grave was done by Cinetel and Anchor Bay Film. It was only $7.50. I said, hell yeah, I'm buying this. I bought it, and I really liked it. I dug it. And Dad saw some, and he didn't see the whole thing. And then they start showing, like, the original and then the remake on Stars. So he watched all that stuff, too. So later on YouTube, I Spit on Your Grave 2 came about. I didn't bother to review it, but I saw it was on YouTube, but it's probably ain't on YouTube no more, uncut. And then I saw I Spit on Your Grave 3 somewhere. I think that's after Dad passed away, though. I think. And then a couple years back, I heard that they were talking about speculation as to whether that was Demi Moore in that photo from the original I Spit on Your Grave. There was that's an urban legend. Finally, found it was. She finally admitted it. It was Demi Moore in that picture from the original I Spit on Your Grave. And I found out that they're doing a direct sequel to the original Miyazaki 1980 movie called I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu. I saw the trailer for it and like, I don't know. I waited for it to be free somewhere. And inadvertently, I found out that there was a documentary through IMDb called Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave, which sounded really interesting. I want to see that. My interest was more with seeing that than Deja Vu one, but I saw both of them. Finally, when it came to Tubi TV. And I think that's pretty much my history with the movie. Now, on to the documentary. Now, the documentary called Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave is about his son, what is it, Terry Markey or Terry something, I think. Terry Zarkey, I think. And he talked about being a kid. I mean, he was one of the kids around the gas station, the original one. He was saying being kind of nervous to be in there. He didn't know if he was ready for it or not. His dad paid him $10 to be in the movie. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And talk about his experiences in the movie. And apparently, the idea for the movie came about 1974. They found a woman who was sexually assaulted, raped, right? They told, they were with his daughter and his one friend, and he told the daughter, we're going to drop you off at your mom's, tell her what happened, and we're going to go to the cops with this poor girl, right? They went to the cops, and then the cops gave her a real tough time. And like, will you take her and they were like, will you take her to the hospital, please? She needs to go to the hospital. And then that gave him inspiration to do the screenplay for the movie. And the screenplay took like a year and a half to do or something like that. And he knew some film people. And he teamed up with a bunch of people and they went to, I think it was Colorado, the film. And they filmed the original, and the movie was originally called Day of the Woman. Melodramatic revenge film, or a melodrama. And I didn't find out until Day of the Woman until years later. I mean, it taught Day of the Woman, and then it took a while to film, and everything wasn't completely done until 1978, right? And then whenever it was done, they were looking for a distributor, and they couldn't find one. They asked Paramount, and the lady walked out and said she felt insulted. The other guy said, if you pay $10,000, I can guarantee this, and they didn't want to go with that. So he decided to independently distribute the film in the South with like 20 different screens. And he had like a very modest commercial. They didn't have much money. And it was going up against Halloween, which had a lot of money, a big advertising campaign. And it didn't do that well. And it was kind of like gone and forgotten in maybe a week or two. And it was yanked. And then he didn't give up. He was trying to look for different distributors and stuff. And then he was shown at different film fests, I guess in Miami in 1980 or something like that. Or I mean, he filmed the he went to Miami. I think Camille Keaton got Best Actress for the Miami Film Festival or something like that. And Camille Keaton was like was a distant relative of Buster Keaton. I didn't know if she was like the daughter or granddaughter, but I mean, he said like it was like second or third cousin or something like that. I thought she was granddaughter of Buster Keaton. That's what I was told, but I guess it wasn't true. Anyways, it was picked up by Jerry Gross, who did like a whole bunch of things. He was the one that there was a movie called I Drink Your Blood, and he tried to market it with another. He took like this really crappy 50s or 60s zombie movie, black and white zombie movie called I Eat Your Skin, and put it as a double bill, and it did real well. But I Eat Your Skin's really bad. I saw that one. That's bad. And he also was the one that did like commercials for like Blood Beach and like Boogeyman. I said, now those were advertised heavily. I know that. And he said, if I get this, I have the right to change the title and also, you know, do the cover art or whatever. So I changed I Spit on Your Grave and became a horror film. And a lot of the cast members were mortified. They said, I doesn't sound right to the movie at all. It doesn't sound correct. It shouldn't be that. So when they did that, it did really well. It did super well at the box. That's when Siskel and Ebert came in, said how trashy it was, and then when it was in Chicago, they were protesting it, and it played around the country pretty good and did pretty well, but I never saw any ads for it. I mean, you know. And eventually, that was it. And then they said the movie would have became forgotten about. However, oh, and that's when they had like Demi Moore do the poster. He had the rights to change the poster and change the title. And the poster was just a Day of the Woman with a picture of Camille Keaton kind of beaten up on it. But this one was someone else, posted behind, you know, scantily clad, you know, and it ended up being Demi Moore. And they said, why didn't, and Camille Keaton said, why didn't they photo him? I don't know why they didn't call me to pose for it. But that wasn't her. That was Demi Moore. They haven't had people in there say it was Demi Moore. But she finally admitted in some booker that it was her. And that's when Siskel and Ebert came in saying the worst movie of all time and all this other crap. And that actually promoted the movie. But I mean, whenever the home video came out, that was one of the most rented or bought DVDs, VHSs of all time, at least for the year, for '84 or something like that. And it's really interesting. They talked about that. They talked about how long it took to do the remake. They said it was like over 15 years to get the remake started, but I don't know when they started the process of doing it. And then they decided that Cinetel and Anchor Bay was behind that, and they said that they saw the movie as like a franchise. And then they had some people from the a couple people who were involved in the movie actually talked to Roger Ebert, and Roger said, well, I may have a little bit harsh in the review. Maybe he's kind of be nice. I don't know. But I would like Siskel and Ebert. I mean, that's how I find out about a lot of movies from them. You know, even though I don't agree with their reviews on everything, you know. Well, anyways, I remember seeing the audio commentary for the remake, right? And they said, a lot of people said they ruined the movie when they had the thing at the gas pump. When she got gas, it said 1978, which was when the movie was originally released. Which is really, that's being a little bit too picky. You know, it's crazy. 9:35 is shit. Anyways, they go on to talk about some other stuff with the movie. And they have like stuff about Miyazaki growing up and stuff. And Miyazaki actually married Camille Keaton. They were married for a couple years. And I mean, it's a whole. I mean, his son directed the documentary. And the documentary is fascinating. It's really interesting. It ends up talking somewhat about Miyazaki originally wrote a screenplay for the sequel, I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, a long time ago, and he wanted to bring it to light. So finally that came to light too. And you saw my review of it. But I mean, you know. But I really enjoyed growing up with I Spit on Your Grave. It was awesome. It's a 10 out of 10. Perfect companion to the original I Spit on Your Grave. Or the whole series. You have to see it. I mean, it's probably best to see all the movies and then that one. But I mean, I'm going to rank the franchise now. But I give it a 10. The documentary is fascinating. It's all 3 of the newer movies. Well, I mean, the original documentary, the 3 Anchor Bay movies, and then Miyazaki sequel are all on Tubi TV. Now, I'm going to start looking on Tubi TV on a lot of these things. I forgot all about Tubi TV. I even did a video a long time ago called Tubi TV Ain't That Great because it kept screwing up on my Roku. But Tubi TV is awesome now. It's been awesome for a while. But I mean, I just was, when I first discovered it, it was screwing up. It kept showing the commercials and going back to the beginning. It was a pain in the ass. Well, anyways, I mean, it's time to rank the franchise now. From worst to best, okay? For the I Spit on Your Grave series. Definitely the worst of them is I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu, if you saw my review of it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was too long, but I was never bored by it. And there was some interesting stuff in it, but it just wasn't very good. So that's the worst one. Then I Spit on Your Grave Part 3. I can't remember, Vengeance is Mine or something like that. Where it shows like whether she's crazy or like, or whether she's doing something, or I mean, or whether some of the stuff is just her imagination. It's like, I kind of liked it, but I don't know. When she pounded that steel pipe by the guy's ass, that was funny. And then in I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu, she put a gun in the guy's butt and shot it, and it came out. The guy said, "No way." And they didn't even show it that great. I mean, I don't know. I think that one was more parody. Well, it was, okay, I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu, then I Spit on Your Grave Part 3, then I Spit on Your Grave Part 2, which was kind of predictable, but I liked it, though. I mean, I didn't hate any of these movies. And then after that would be the documentary, Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave, then the original Miyazaki 1978-1980, because it was originally released in 1978, and a lot of times what the distributor would do was they would rename a movie and then put it back out in theaters and see if it would make more money or would catch on. They did a lot with Alice, Sweet Alice, and they did it with the Rituals, which is also known as Creeper, with Hal Holbrook. But I mean, whenever Jerry Gross retired at I Spit on Your Grave, and like I said, a lot of people didn't like the title, it took off. It did real well. So, the 1978, I Spit on Your Grave, second best, and then number one, the best of the series is the remake. I think the remake is really, really, I mean, I think the remake is better than the original. Because the revenge she got on the guys is really brutally awesome. I mean, the whole movie is awesome. It really is. And the revenge, I mean, Camille Keaton said she couldn't watch the revenge scenes. I mean, there was some pretty brutal stuff in there. And they had more money. But I mean, I didn't hate any of the I Spit on Your Grave movies, but I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu is not that great. But I didn't hate it. So there you go. That's my review of Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave, plus my personal history with the movie, plus ranking of the franchise. Not Shane Douglas, I Spit on Your Grave. So I hope you liked this review, everybody. Till next time, please, take care of my Legion. Now I might watch episode TV before going to bed. It's getting late. I mean, there's like a 24 minutes. That's okay. All right, take care, everybody, and take care of my Legion.